Please welcome up Deb. Come on.
Oh, that bio, Caleb, that's painful. I just want to thank you for bringing all this poetry here. It's just amazing. Also, we got Kelsey Bigelow here who's doing the same thing over in Des Moines. Here to Des Moines, letting us up. I'm just so thrilled to be here and to hear all these amazing poets. I wanted to start with this poem that I actually wrote during the Gulf War so long ago, and I dug it out about a year ago when the Russia started bombing Ukraine. And it seems like targeting civilians with bombardments just seems to keep going on and on and on. And I wanted to think about what's going on around the world. And this is called Light, Sweet, and Crude. It has an epigraph from Adrienne Rich. A patriot is not a weapon. A patriot is a citizen trying to wake from the burnt-out dream of innocence. At midnight, in the produce section, I think about the old woman on CNN who stood on the rubble of her white stone house and raged at the camera in her Arabic tongue. The chords of her neck straining, "Civilian," she screamed, "civilian," her only English word. Inside, children lay crushed in beds like corsages in Bibles. The camera scans the wreckage. Dishes and cups broken into fragments. A water gourd once round and smooth as a baby's head, now smashed, entirely open. Halfway across the world, they're dropping bombs. All night from inside the deep land cushion of the great Middle West, I watch this fireworks display of war. All day at work, the talk is of how many sorties flowed, how many X's obliterated, how many people ran like ants out of the crosshairs of a missile. As the 10 million screw in the great roaring machinery of American business, my job is not to question the dropping of bombs. Halfway across the world, where light, sweet, crude bubbles up from the sand, they're dropping bombs. And tonight, in the produce section, I'm shocked by the violence of even this fruit. The lengths my country will go to deliver the juicy acres of peaches, kiwi, grapes, 7 kinds of apples in February, all laid out in polished rows for my inspection. Halfway across the world, they're dropping bombs on my behalf. Get that fruit away from me. I will not eat it. Right here, he's my guitar player, and we are 2/3 of the Bone People, and we're just so happy to collaborate with these amazing musicians. And one thing that Pete and I have been doing for years is, with our work with the Bone People, we've been turning poems into songs and pairing my poems and other people's poems with music. So this is Tim Siebel's poem.
Yes!
And it's called Big Mouth. And the idea, I don't know if I have any volume on this guitar. You gotta turn it way up. The premise of this poem is someone has such a big mouth, they sleep with their mouth open and they swallow the moon. And, chaos ensues after that. I'll just play it really loud. Oh, there it is. Ago, you slept with your mouth open, and the moon slept inside. Because you have such a big mouth, your eyes glow now like a jack-o'-lantern. And every evening when you look outside, the sparrows rally, the plants leaning toward you, as if sensing another dawn, another dawn. Another dawn. Don't try to explain. Imagine even tonight the billions of eyes looked heavy and moonless. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. You slept with your big mouth open, thinking you had every right, and the moon slipped inside. Chewing off the sky. Soon the night will be dressed like a widow. Don't say anything, don't apologize. Don't think of all the lovers by another was moonless night. Fondling each other clumsily in the darkness because of you. Your big mouth, your big mouth, your big mouth, big lad, your head glows, big lad, you'll never need a flashlight if your car dies on a country road in the middle of nowhere. 'Cause you slept with your big mouth open. It's so awesome to play with a band like this. I was a road musician for many years, and actually my drummer is right there, Michael Duke. He's in the audience. It's really great to see you. I'm going to end with this poem. This is like an old-timey poem. So, like when I was in my 20s, I used to call my dad all the time and ask him for money. And is this familiar to anyone else? Cash infusions, we called them. And I would always have good excuses because I'm a creative writer, so I needed elaborate dental work a lot of times. And I needed brakes. I think something like 3 times I needed my brakes repaired. And the last time I asked, my dad was like, okay, well, if you have to stop, just run into something cheap. So that was the last time I asked him for money. And so he would always tell me this story. It's called, my father tells this story about his brother Frank and the wick. Every time I ask him for money, And since it's a like 2-generation, 3-generation backstory, there's an ancient technology in this poem. It's called an oil lamp. And so I should explain, it's like, it's like kind of like got a flue and it's got a wick that goes in, there's oil in the bottom. Okay, so you get the idea, right? Okay. My father tells the story about his brother Frank and the wick every time I ask him for money. Your Grandpa Marquart, he was a tight son of a bitch, you know. Every night he'd come to the bottom of the steps and yell out, "Frank, go to sleep, you're wasting my oil." Frank liked to read. He was always reading something. It wasn't much for farm work, but he liked school and reading and just wasting his time on books. So, Grandpa thought he better put an end to all that laziness and sloth. Frank was pretty much worthless when 5 o'clock chores rolled around. It was more work getting hit on a bench and just doing the chores yourself. So, this went on for years. His Grandpa coming to the bottom of the steps at night and yelling out, "Frank, go to sleep, you're wasting my oil." And Frank, setting his book down, leaving it open to the last page he was reading, and rolling the wick down into the flame, and dousing the flame. So, finally, Frank gets his town job. He makes a little bit of money, and the first thing he does is buys himself some oil right off, see? So he can read as late as he pleases. And then when Grandpa comes to the bottom of the steps at night and yells out, "Frank, go to sleep, you're wasting my oil," Frank gets out of bed, he goes to the top of the steps, and he yells back down, "This is my oil. I bought this oil with my own money, and I will burn this oil however I see fit." But Grandpa, he had a way, of seeing how things broke down, how they divided up, because he yelled right back without even thinking. He said, "But what about the wick? What about the wick?" Your grandfather, I'm telling you, now there was a tight man.